The era of the shrinking American Navy is over, or at least that is the $250 billion bet being placed by the Pentagon. For 3 decades, the U.S. fleet has been in a slow, agonizing retreat from the high watermarks of the 1980s. As of early 2026, however, the United States has officially pivoted to an aggressive, high-stakes new doctrine, the Maritime Golden Age. This isn't just a routine budget increase, it is a total ground-up reimagining of what American sea power looks like in an era of peer competition. The target is a massive 381-ship battle force, a fleet size not seen since the closing days of the Cold War. To achieve this, the Department of the Navy's 2026 budget has ballooned to a record-shattering $292 billion. Within that total, a staggering $250 billion in discretionary and mandatory funding has been earmarked specifically to rebuild the fleet and the crumbling industrial base that must support it. But there is a monumental catch. You cannot simply buy a Navy the way you buy a fleet of cars. You have to build it, weld it, and commission it. Right now, the American assembly line is screaming under the pressure of decades of neglect. While the vision is the Golden Fleet, the reality on the ground is a massive logistical logjam. As of early 2026, 37 of the 45 ships currently under construction in the U.S. are facing significant delays, ranging from months to years. The culprit? A historic, systemic labor shortage and a supply chain that has forgotten how to move at the speed of 21st century competition. To save the Golden Age, the Navy is having to rewrite the rules of industrial construction. The Lego method, the revolution of modular construction. To solve the shipbuilding bottleneck, the Navy is moving away from the traditional, centuries-old keel-up method of construction. In the old days, a ship was built much like a house. You laid the foundation, the keel, and then built it one floor at a time, from the bottom up, exposed to the elements. Today, in the shipyards of Newport News, Virginia, and Bath, Maine, we are building ships like Legos. This is modular construction, and in 2026, it is the only way the Golden Fleet has a prayer of hitting its 381-ship goal. It is a process that breaks the ship down into hundreds of manageable pieces, turning a shipyard into a giant assembly line. On distributed manufacturing, instead of one central dry dock doing all the work, massive ship sections, some the size of a 4-story apartment building and weighing over 1,000 tons, are built in separate specialized shops or indoor facilities. This protects the steel and the workers from the weather, allowing for 24/7 production. The outfitting phase. This is the secret sauce of modular builds. While a section is still sitting in a temperature-controlled shop, workers install the insides, the plumbing, electrical wiring, high-speed fiber optics, and even the bunk beds and galley equipment. It is vastly faster and safer to weld a pipe or pull a cable while the room is sitting on a flat factory floor than it is to crawl through a cramped, dark hull once the ship is already floating in the water. Sean, the final weld. Once these mega blocks are fully outfitted, they are transported to a central assembly point. A massive heavy-lift crane, such as the legendary Jean Trefethen at Newport News, lifts these 1,000-ton blocks and nests them together with millimeter precision. Parallel progress. Because the bow, the engine room, and the command bridge are all being built at the very same time in different shops, the total construction timeline for a destroyer or a carrier can be cut by up to 30%. The workforce crisis. A 500,000-person gap. The technology for the Golden Fleet is ready. The modular designs are finalized. The funding is approved. But the most important component is missing: the master builders. The most alarming statistic of 2026 is what experts are calling the human chokehold. The U.S. shipbuilding and maritime construction industry needs to attract and train approximately 500,000 new workers this year alone just to meet current demand. This isn't just a hiring problem, it is a generational crisis. The Gray Tsunami. For decades, the Navy relied on a cohort of master shipfitters and nuclear welders who entered the trade in the 1970s and 80s. As this last generation of experts hits retirement age, they are taking decades of tribal knowledge with them, the kind of specialized skills required to weld the hull of a nuclear submarine to withstand crushing depths. The training lag: you cannot surge a master welder. It takes roughly 5 years of apprenticeship and hands-on experience to train a welder to the standards required for a Virginia-class or Columbia-class submarine. Now, there are no shortcuts when dealing with nuclear-grade steel. The result of the gap. Currently, 82% of shipbuilding projects are delayed. When you dig into the data, the reason is rarely a lack of steel or microchips. It is simply because there aren't enough qualified hands to hold the torches. The golden newcomer, the BBG-1, Defiant. The most controversial and visually stunning part of the $250 billion expansion is the fleet's new centerpiece, the BBG-1 Defiant. Announced in late 2025 and seeing its first major production funding in the 2026 budget, the Defiant marks the return of the battleship designation, BBG, to the U.S. Navy for the first time since the 1990s. But don't expect the giant 16-inch guns of World War II. The Defiant is a 30,000-ton guided missile battleship designed for the age of saturation attacks. On the massive magazine, the Defiant is designed to carry over 200 vertical launch cells, VLS. To put that in perspective, that is double the firepower of a current Arleigh Burke destroyer. This turns a single ship into a floating golden dome, capable of providing an umbrella of defense for an entire carrier strike group. Directed energy. The Defiant is the first hull class designed from the keel up to generate the massive electrical power required for high-energy lasers. These weapons are designed to melt incoming swarms of drones and cruise missiles at the speed of light, providing a bottomless magazine that doesn't rely on expensive interceptor missiles. The high-stakes cost. This ship comes with a battleship price tag. At an estimated $9 billion to $13 billion per ship, the Defiant class is a high-risk, high-reward bet by the Pentagon. It assumes that in a conflict in the Pacific, size and power will matter more than having a larger number of smaller, more vulnerable ships. The $250 billion Golden Fleet expansion is America's ultimate attempt to reclaim its title as the world's premier industrial power. It is a race against time, physics, and a dwindling workforce. By the end of 2027, we will know if the Lego method of modular construction is enough to overcome the 500,000 worker shortage and the decades of rust in the supply chain. If the Golden Fleet succeeds, the 381-ship Navy will be the most formidable and technologically advanced maritime force in human history, a shield that extends from the seabed to the stars. If it fails, the Maritime Golden Age might just be remembered as a $250 billion dream deferred by a simple lack of welders. The stakes couldn't be higher. As the first modules of the Defiant are welded together this year, the world is watching to see if the arsenal of democracy can still build at the scale required to lead. What do you think? Is the move to megaships, like the $13 billion BBG-1 Defiant, the right move for the Pacific? Or should we be using that $250 billion to build 1,000 smaller, cheaper, autonomous Lego ships instead? Is it better to have one giant shield or 1,000 small stings? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see the industrial secrets behind the hypersonic arms race or the Space Force expansion, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for our next deep dive into the machines and the money that shape our world.